Hi, my name is Alembic. Aside from being a not-so-well-known furry artist, I also have a deep love for reading really big books. I'm talking Wheel of Time, the Stormlight Archive, that kind of massive, makes the Bible look like coffee table reading books. But in between those epic tomes, I like to cleanse my brain a bit with something a little different. Furry novels, duh, because I'm a degenerate. I've read a lot of them over the years, and recently I figured, hey, maybe it's time I start reviewing them. I've had the idea kicking around in my head for a while, but I just didn't really have the push to start until recently, when I was watching one of Scoober's TikTok times. He dropped a bombshell. Apparently, he's been secretly working as an audiobook narrator this past year for a book called The Varcross Key. According to him, it's about smelly werewolves, which, yeah, sounds about right for Scoober, but there's actually more to it than that. So this book asks two incredibly wild questions. First off, what if being a gay werewolf was a sexually transmitted curse? But also, what's the deal with representative democracies? Yeah, buckle up. This one's gonna be a good one. So, my expectations versus the reality of it. Here's the thing. I went in with very low expectations. Not because I thought it would be bad, but because if you've read furry novels before, you kinda know the deal. There's almost always something corny or campy or really heavy-handed alliteration, and they're not really trying to be literary masterpieces, but more like comfort food. Light, sometimes spicy, and usually pretty goofy. Think Kyle Gold, who, to be clear, I love Kyle Gold's novels. But the Varcross Key? This one genuinely surprised me. I'm not saying that it's top 10 of all time of all books, but it's easily one of the best furry novels I've ever read. So the story kicks off with Leo, a human guy getting out of a bad, abusive relationship with somebody named Ben. By the way, Scooberoo, your impression of Ben, mwah, chef's kiss. We don't get all the details, but then again, I haven't read any of the other books by this author. I hear a lot of people have read The Mark of Mamuli. Maybe there's some lore I'm missing. I'll definitely give it a chance here, but here we're talking about this book, because, of course, Scoober's in it. But just to be clear, he's trying to escape his old life, and honestly, good for him. So Leo is escaping his old life, and he's escaping it because he's been messaging somebody from Oregon, inviting him to a new town that's apparently starting up called Varcross. Apparently, he has some special quality that makes him crucial to the town's future, and they're offering him $3,000 a month in a stipend just to show up. Sound shady, right? But hey, no protagonist ever makes wise choices, and nobody ever gets cursed werewolf wiener by thinking things through. So, Leo, in his Subaru, ends up going like Mach 10 story progression-wise into a totally different world, where he meets a big, intimidating, dumb, hot werewolf, Varkir. And from here, the plot thickens. I won't spoil too much because the book's relatively short, and it's worth going in with a fresh view of it. I'm not going to be the person who spoils the whole book for the author because the book just came out, and I really think that you should just take the opportunity to go and pick it up, especially the audio narration version. It goes places, and good ones. So, instead, let's talk a little bit about the themes and the tones of the books. So what really shocked me about this book is how tasteful the adult content is handled. It's sparse, and when it does show up, it doesn't take away from the plot. It doesn't feel shoehorned in, you know? You'll get a deep monologue about depression or the democratic failures of society, and then suddenly you'll remember, wait, didn't this guy just get railed 10 minutes ago? But jokes aside, if you're looking for a furry adult novel that also has real substance, this is it. It's smart, weirdly philosophical, and offers a fresh twist on the werewolf curse trope, which, let me tell you, that is lacking in a lot of these werewolf novels. Let's talk about the narration of the book. Scooberoo, how did you do? First, I'm gonna go off and say, let's talk about audiobooks. I'm a huge audiobook listener. When I'm not drawing the spicy stuff on the internet, I'm working at a metal foundry all day. I don't really have the ability to go and pick up a physical book between working and sleeping. My main way to read is by listening, and you can get a lot of reading done for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. It's actually interesting because studies show that for neurodivergent folks, especially ADHD people and autistic people, audio is actually superior when it comes to reading. It can help you retain info about 3 times better than actual reading. Whether this is true or not, I don't know. I don't feel like citing sources. But I'm a big believer in that how you take in a story doesn't really matter as long as it sticks. That being said, a good narrator makes all the difference. I have completely turned away audiobooks because I just could not stand the narrator. But Skuru, you crushed it. This was his first audiobook, and you can hear a little bit of the nervousness in Chapter 1. But by Chapter 2 or 3, he's locked in. His voice acting for the characters like Vince and Toby the Barkeep is immaculate. You absolutely crushed it. I felt like I was listening to the actual characters. I do have one tiny nitpick though. Skuru is Canadian, so you'll hear a few mispronunciations if you're expecting American English, but things that are probably very normal in Canadian English. Words like sanguine or fungi. But honestly, I think it adds a little bit of charm and it kind of made me smile. You get a bit of that Canadian English flavor, which I think is neat. The actual issue though, there's a main character, Axel, the big dumb sexy werewolf, a southern werewolf love interest. He's introduced with a southern US accent, and the accent, I kind of expected to be more of a lilt, you know, like a, hey there guys, I'm the big sexy dumb werewolf, but not quite it. You didn't get it really, Skuru, and I'm sorry. But it sounded a little bit more like the Goofy movie than a southern drawl. That being said though, the vibe that you gave Axel's voice, a lovable, dorky, emotionally deep himbo, was totally nailed. So while the accent doesn't scream southern, it did fit the character's energy, and I'm fine with that. And look, even professional audiobook narrators who make this their whole life mess this kind of stuff up. Kate Redding and Michael Kramer comes to mind. They can't even agree on pronunciations in The Wheel of Time for things like Tel Run Riyadh and the City of Tyr. And they're married. They could go to bed at night and just talk to each other, but they don't. They just go and do their own thing in the booth. But still an immaculate work of art. So in the grand scheme of things, not a deal breaker. Not even close. So I really hope that in the future, that Skuru could come back and actually narrate any future sequels to this book. I'm not sure if there's going to be a sequel to this book, because the author did a great job balancing the ending. They left just enough open to want more without making it feel incomplete. It didn't feel like an obvious, hey, there's going to be a sequel to this book, but there felt like a chance. There was still a couple questions and a couple things that made me want more from the characters. And honestly, that's the mark of a good fantasy author. Making sure that your reader wants to come back for more and isn't sick of whatever they're reading. So I'm going to close things up today by saying that you should go and pick up a copy of the Varcross Key, and I think you should especially pick up a copy off of Audible. Supporting creators like Skuru doing these kind of things and branching out is really important for a good community, and he did just such a great job, especially for his first audiobook. I have heard practiced audiobook narrators do absolute garbage jobs, and Skuru nailed it. He nailed it. He nailed it. So I hope you have a wonderful day and you got something out of this video and this little experiment of mine. And I just hope you find good food, good people, good life, good books. This has been your favorite Jackalope, Sans Alembic, signing off.